A king who believed his power had no limits. An empire where people's voices were silenced but the sound of arrogance reached the sky. And a prophet who stood alone against that arrogance. This is not a legend. This is the history of Tawheed, the oneness of Allah. This is the story of a confrontation where kingship faced the sovereignty of the Lord. Ancient Babylon, a highly advanced civilization, massive palaces, tall towers, temples filled with statues. People worshipped the sun, they revered the moon, they bowed before the stars, and above them all stood a ruler, Nimrod. Islamic historical sources mention that he ruled for a long time. Power was concentrated in his hands, wealth, army, influence, everything was under his control. Gradually, a dangerous belief grew within him. He stopped seeing himself as an ordinary king. He began to consider himself God. People bowed before him in fear. His commands were the law. His word was truth. But when Allah tests a nation, He sends among them a guide. At that time, Allah appointed a young man, Abraham, peace be upon him. From his childhood, he was different. He questioned, he pondered, he gazed at the sky, lost in deep thought. The Quran describes how he used reason to guide his people. One night, he looked at a star and said, "Is this my Lord?" But when the star set, he said, "I do not like the ones that disappear." Then he looked at the moon. It too set. Then the sun, the brightest, the greatest, but it too set. Then he declared, "I turn my face sincerely towards the one who created the heavens and the earth." This declaration was not only a spiritual realization, it was a rebellion, a public challenge against idolatry, polytheism, and false beliefs. He told his people, "Those you worship can do nothing. They cannot even protect themselves." This reached the king. In Nimrod's court, news came. A young man is challenging the kingdom's beliefs. He calls the idols worthless. He wants to take away the people's loyalty. Ibrahim, peace be upon him, was summoned. That day, the court was tense. Nimrod sat on the throne, his eyes full of arrogance. Soldiers surrounded him, weapons jingling. In the middle stood a prophet. No army, no weapons, only faith. The question came, "Who is your Lord?" He replied, "My Lord is the one who gives life and causes death." Nimrod was argumentative. He thought he was the wisest. He brought 2 prisoners. He killed one and spared the other. He said, "See, I too give life and death." Some in the court praised him. They thought the king had won. But Ibrahim, peace be upon him, clarified. The trick did not answer the real question. He calmly said, "Allah causes the sun to rise from the east. If you are truly God, make it rise from the west." This one statement silenced the entire court. Nimrod had no answer. The Quran says the disbelievers were left astonished. Truth never shouts, but when it is revealed, falsehood collapses on its own. Still, arrogance does not surrender easily. Ibrahim, peace be upon him, got an opportunity to prove the falsehood of the idols. When the people went out for a festival, he entered the temple. He broke all the idols except the largest one. When the people returned, they were furious. Who did this? Ibrahim, peace be upon him, was brought before them. He said, "Ask that large idol, if it can speak, let it tell you." The people realized the idols could do nothing. But they did not accept the truth. Accepting it would destroy their beliefs, their culture, their structure of power. Finally, it was decided Ibrahim, peace be upon him, would be given exemplary punishment. A massive fire was lit, piles of wood as high as mountains, the heat so intense that birds could not fly near. A throwing device was constructed. Ibrahim, peace be upon him, was bound to it. At that moment, there was no fear in his heart. He placed his complete trust in Allah. Historical accounts say he said, Allah is sufficient for me, and He is the best disposer of affairs. Then he was thrown into the fire. People watched, Namrud watched, but in the heavens a different decision was made. Allah said, "O fire, be cool and safe for Ibrahim." The fire lost its nature, its heat diminished, its ability to harm disappeared. It became peaceful. Ibrahim, peace be upon him, emerged unscathed. It was a miraculous moment. It was the victory of Tawheed. For Namrud, it was a public humiliation. Islamic historical sources mention that later Allah punished him through a tiny mosquito. It entered his nose and caused damage to his brain. He suffered unbearable pain. He was forced to hit his own head. The one who claimed to be God was helpless before a tiny creature. This is Allah's justice. The story of Namrud is not just a past event, it is a lesson. Arrogance destroys people. Power makes them forget limits. When a person considers themselves supreme, they forget Allah. But history shows those who stand against Allah do not last. Ibrahim, peace be upon him, teaches us, no matter how alone we are on the path of truth, we must not retreat. Strength is not in numbers, but in faith. Even today, injustice exists in the world. Arrogance exists, abuse of power exists, but the light of Tawheed has not been extinguished. If a believer stands firm on the truth, not even fire can harm them if Allah wills. The fall of Namrud proves that kingship is not eternal, power is not permanent, arrogance is not everlasting, only Allah's sovereignty is eternal. This story reminds us not to cross limits, not to become like Namrud when given power, instead to remain steadfast in Tawheed like Ibrahim, peace be upon him. Because in the end, victory belongs to the truth, victory belongs to faith, victory belongs to Allah.